name is Maya Ash. I will be interviewing Aliyah Walker, who is an instrumentalist who is contributing to the Emergency Relief Fund. All right. So just to pick up where I kind of left off. You told me in your introduction that you played a lot of instruments and how has that influenced your experience with quarantine and the pandemic in general?
Well, I know that during the summer, I actually wasn't able to practice my classical pieces that I'm assigned as much as I would like because I wasn't feeling motivated. And I also did summer classes online for the first time. And so, honestly, over the summer, I didn't really practice my craft. I more so was just surviving through the summer
Right.
and trying to figure out where all of this fits into my life. I had just came back home from school and it was a new environment overall. And then this pandemic was a new environment. And we were actually kind of rushed out of school when I came home. So I came home in March because we were like kind of evacuated in a sense. And so it was just a lot going on. I didn't feel inspired at all. I think if I remember correctly, this summer I did do guitar class, so that helped keep up my practicing my craft in terms of guitar because my primary instrument is piano. I've played piano since I was 6 years old, but guitar was something I still need to focus on in order to start my junior year. So I took guitar class this summer, so that helped a lot in terms of wanting to keep going for next
Right.
semester.
I think it's really important that you've just made an effort at all to kind of work on yourself creatively. And I think that's really a good thing, especially given the circumstances now. I know it's incredibly difficult to do anything at all like that during a pandemic. And the fact that you're still applying yourself creatively is really nice. So, but prior to the summer, I'm sorry, I lost train of thought. Anyways, so you say you try to apply yourself creatively and you've done so during the summer. What are you doing now creatively? How are you applying yourself?
Well, currently, I'm actually working on an album, released my first album of piano instrumentals that I've written. I've found that I am very multi-talented when it comes to improvisation. And so I have from professional recordings of my music, some music that I've written, and so that's kind of kept me going in that sense. And also my major in school, I always have to write songs for my clients and for just assignments and such. So I always have to think on my feet, think of how a song can be utilized in a realistic way for my clients and for therapy because my major is music therapy. So um, I'm always doing something with music. All of my classes are music focused, and so either if it's personal music or if it's like for something for class, I'm always doing something. So currently, I'm working on an album.
All right, that's great. I think you spoke a little bit about your personal pieces aside from your clients. When you work on personal pieces, what is your main source of inspiration? I know I was looking at your submission and I saw that definitely a lot of it was drawing from the current social circumstances. And I want to know whether or not that remains like a focus of your work or have you gone different routes? What's your take on that?
So, in terms of my personal creative pieces, it is not centered around the pandemic or anything. You know, that song was very specific and geared towards speaking for those who need a creative way to say, hey, this is going on. And I wanted to put that emotion into a song. But the pieces I work on now are all what my own emotions are. Every piece that I've ever written are something I feel in the moment and just something transpires in me. And so it has no focus. It's mainly for what do I need in this moment and hit record. And that's just what I do. It's no plan. In terms of my improv pieces, um, any pieces I've ever written, I try to incorporate some type of idea or focus, but um, it eventually just turns into improv. It just comes to me so naturally that the more I think about it, the more complex it becomes and the less I want to do it. So if it just flows through me, I usually get the best sound quality and the best cohesiveness with the music if I just let it flow. And
Right.
so the album that I'm working on, most of it is geared towards how I feel in the moment and also how I felt in the past. So some of the songs are I'll think about something that's happened in the past that I wish I had dealt with or something, and then I'll put that into songs. So I'll just put my mindset on that, focus on that, and then play and just see what happens.
Right.
And I usually get really good results that way.
I think it's really interesting how you're able to do it so naturally. I know that improving is something that is definitely one of my weak points. And the way that you're able to take this process of improvisation and publish that and be really confident with it is something really inspiring for me. I think that's really cool. But going off of that, we've talked about how you've dealt with music in the past and the present. How do you see yourself growing as a musician in the future? Where do you want to be with your work?
In the future, I've actually been thinking about that a lot because my major is so demanding that I don't have time for personal things that I would like to do. But if I just had like a year to myself, I'll probably be an artist or someone who makes music for others. And so I would love to just keep writing stuff and perfecting it and mixing it and make it sound like something I wish I could hear on the radio. So I want to like fill in that gap for me. And so like if I go through Spotify, my Spotify playlist, I'm like, I don't want to hear any of this. I'm like, man, I wish my album was on here so I could just click it and just
Right,
have it. So I wish I could just have it done. That's what I really want and go from there. I'm also inspired to, I know you were talking about filmmaking. I'm inspired to write music for films, or I also like to write and write stories. So I've always thought about maybe getting a group of people together. I can write the storyline, someone can write the script, I can write the film score, get someone to produce it and film it. Like that would be amazing.
right,
Have like a really short film. It doesn't even have to be a full length movie. I would just be really excited to do that, just to
right.
use music as a way to convey something without using words. And I think that's just so much fun, you know?
Right. I think that was such a really great answer because it seems that you really have what you want to be planned out. And even if not, even if you gave like kind of like a vague guess about where you want it to be, it has direction. And I think that's really important, especially as an artist, to know where you're going. And if you don't, if you get lost along the way, I think just you having an outline of kind of where you want to be is so great. And I really like the part where you said you wanted to make music that kind of scratched the brain itch, sort of. I think that was a really profound thing to say, and I just wanted to make note on that. Um, but about your submission, I think that I should ask, what was I shouldn't ask what was the inspiration behind that, but why were you excited to submit that piece specifically?
And so originally, when I saw the prompt for it, I knew that I was excited because it gave me an opportunity to be inspired to create something. Because, like I said, we were evacuated from school. I had just started writing one of the pieces. It's a piece I wrote for my grandmother. Haven't published it yet, but it's during that time I was still writing it. And so when we got kicked out, I lost all my resources, like the studio at school, the nice grand piano. So I was just initially excited to be inspired to write something. I didn't care how it sounded or something. I was like, oh, well, let's just start all over from scratch. And then when I started to think about what I wanted to write about, I mean, the main thing on our minds was the pandemic and the protests. And I was thinking, I was like, man, we can't leave where we're not supposed to. And I felt like there was nothing I could do. And I was like, what in my power, what power do I have to do something about it, or at least to say, hey, I know this is going on. I understand what you're saying. I understand where you're coming from. And I want to write something to show how you feel. And I was speaking to our community as a whole. And I knew that that was my inspiration, was to just write for someone else. If I can't write for myself, because I didn't feel inspired to write for myself, I knew that someone else may need it. Even if it was in another language, I wanted the music to be so powerful that I didn't need the words. And that was like a metaphor for me, because music without words is, it's just so beautiful. Instrumental music is so beautiful. So I didn't want it to be obvious. You know, the pictures helped correlate the story,
Right.
but I didn't want the words to say, hey, this is what I'm talking about, this is what I'm saying. You know, I wanted people to dig deeper, which is why it
Right.
wasn't in English. And so, yeah, that's just all I wanted to do, was just, I just wanted to write. I was just excited.
Right. I think that I remember you talking about your submission during the MMI during the summer. And I remember thinking how interesting it was that it wasn't in English, it was in another language. And I thought that given your explanation now, I think I really understand what you were trying to go for, mixing in all of these ideas and kind of, I don't know, these things that you wanted to portray. I think there's so many facets of your submission that just go beyond like what I know I would submit at my age. But I think that you answered all of these questions really well, and I only have maybe one or two more for you. You touched on it a little bit, but how has MMI kind of helped sustain your creative practice? And it doesn't even have to be just now, just maybe when you were in the program, how has it helped you creatively and moved you on?
Well, I will say, well, I guess there's a few things to that. So I know that when I was in MMI, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to go to school for music, and I knew I wanted to be a music therapist, but I was so young to where I didn't really understand what music therapy was. I just knew I had to prepare. And so that's why I took that guitar class, because our audition, or what's the word, our requirement to get into school was to know guitar and piano and sing. So I guess I don't really know. I have to put my mindset back then. Seems so far away. Um, I don't know. I just know that when I was in MMI, I was so inspired by the other people around me. I was just soaking it in. Like, there are so many people who see music as a value, as I saw it too, and so many people I've grown up with in my community, like from middle school, high school, or different events that, and I just saw so many people in their like musical side, and I just got to learn people in different ways, and it was kind of like so different, because there's nothing else, nothing else I've ever experienced has been so specific, where people came together for one thing, and it was like, so it just has so many layers to it. It was like, even though we all love music, we all had a different story from it, or we all had different just mindset of how it was useful. And I just kind of, I learned from everyone else. It just gave me the opportunity to sit down and just focus in on just one thing that I was excited to do. It was my first job. I loved going to work. You know, it was so much fun. I didn't even feel like I was working,
Right.
and I loved all the opportunities. Like, we went to the museum, and I learned so much about Memphis that I started to have a love for Memphis,
Hmm.
instead of kind of like, oh man, it's just, Memphis, like, who
Right.
cares?
Right.
But I started to learn a lot about our community, and what Memphis is all about is about music. I mean, we use that as a grounding to build our city, and then build the values that we have left. It kind of just showed me that, I don't know, it just gave me like a value of humanity, kind of like some
Right.
more hope in our world. Like, if we don't have anything, at least we have music. And if we don't have
Right.
instruments, we still have our voices, and we can figure it out. So it was kind of really cool to see that everyone was talented in some way. And I
Right.
also learned a lot about like mixing and stuff. I
Hmm.
didn't know anything about any of that. And even though I wasn't in like the mixing group or
Mhm.
production group or anything, like that one time we went to the studio downtown and we recorded a song right then and there. I was like, whoa, that was really cool. Like it I was so surprised that anything I don't know. I just still remember that feeling of being like, we just did that. Like we can
Right,
do that. And that was my first experience of like, wow, I can actually write a song. And so I think that I think I can really give that to MMI. Like, hey, you guys actually inspired me from that one small moment
right,
of I've done this before, so I have the confidence to do it by myself. It was kind of like I thought back to that time of, okay, I wasn't scared of it because it wasn't the unknown anymore, which
right.
is one of my song being fear the unknown. It's like I
Yeah,
wasn't afraid to write something because that one moment that I did write something with MMI like 5 years ago or whatever. And I was like, oh, I can do this. We did that one time with my friend that one time. So I'll just try again. So it just
right,
became something else. So I think they're really inspiring. I really feel like people who are part of MMI should really hone in and think about the things that they're learning and experiencing from the program because it's much bigger than a job or like a summer opportunity. It's like it can be life changing if you let it be,
right.
honestly.
I think that was such an answer that I know I personally related to because I even remember my aha moment where I was just like, wow, I can do this for a living and and it makes me happy. Like, I don't want to make this about me, but that was just such a really good answer that I know I related to. I'll just give you one last question. It's just kind of general. A mental check-in. How are you feeling during all of this? I know it's your last week of school, but how's it going?
It's definitely been one of the biggest challenges of my life and not necessarily the pandemic. It was just more so like mental health and
Mm-hmm.
where am I going from here type of thing. But it's kind of just, I don't know. I think that's really what I want my, what's that word, album to convey is that, despite all of this, I'm still here to even release this album. Like it's been my, like if I had nothing else type of thing, I have this album like, okay, I still have to get up tomorrow because I need to go record this album. I need to at least think about it because I
Right.
really want to release it. So it's kind of like it's been a back and forth type of thing. And, actually 2020 has been one of the greatest years of my life,
Mm.
surprisingly, but it's also has been one of the most challenging because I got so many big opportunities and so many like awards this year. Like, I made the dean's list for the first time,
Oh, that's good.
even with the pandemic. Like when we
Right.
were evacuating and stuff, I was at home doing all of that, and I made like all A's, and I was like, "Whoa!" And I got this opportunity with MMI to write the song and produce it and do something I've never done. I've never even mixed before, and it just the quality. Like I was just like,
Right.
"Wow!" And I got a music therapy scholarship,
Oh,
and I
nice.
got a new job to teach piano lessons for kids at home, and then I worked for MMI this summer, and I just kept getting opportunities after opportunities,
Right.
and it was like, and now I'm the president of one of the clubs at school, so it's just like all these things. So I just started doing like affirmations and gratitude of
Right.
like my years being. I realized I had one of the strongest years this year in terms of
Right.
accomplishments. And then I wrote the song. I was
All
like,
right.
wow.
I'm glad you're taking life's blessings and I'm glad that it's giving you so much good things. But yeah, I think that was all I had to say. If you had anything else you wanted to add, go ahead. But if not, that's it.
I know I wanted to add, what are your goals? What are your dreams or
Oh, um, well, at this point in my life, I don't know. I'm kind of on the opposite end of the scale because it's my senior year and I'm spending it right here. But we keep it moving. I think um a major point that I like to make with my friends because I know class of 21 is just going through it, but we keep it going and it is what it is. I think that's our motto. But yeah, goal wise, I'm just trying to get into college right now. That's like what I'm really stressed out about. Like college application process is so stressful and getting that acceptance is kind of my main goal, but at the moment that's my goal. But creatively, I think I want to do more musically because I feel like have been lacking so much in the music area. I need to get out my instruments and like play, even though I'm just sitting at home. But I've been doing that a lot more, so that's where I'm at.